Ribble.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know it's been a long day. Mr. Zients, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Welcome to the party. Like you, I've spent almost my entire life in the private sector. But I do have a couple of questions because I have concerns about the president's budget and actually concerns how you got there, given your background. But we'll talk about that in just a second. Who was president of the United States December 2010?
Barack Obama.
And who was the House Speaker of the House in December 2010?
Nancy Pelosi.
And who was the Senate Majority Leader in December 2010?
Harry Reid.
All right, good, we've got it. The Democratic Party controlled all three levers of government, and at that time they extended the 2001-2003 tax cuts to everybody. Was that a balanced approach then, or was it terribly unbalanced in December 2010?
I think in December 2010 we were in the midst of a very, very difficult economic situation, and a decision was made to, in the context of a much larger package, as you know, to do that extension. The president's never believed in the extension for the wealthiest 2%, and this budget has no tax increases for families making less than $250,000, but I think very rationally and very fairly has the wealthiest 2% pay more by returning to the same Clinton-era tax rates when we ran surpluses. And as someone who's in the private sector then, it sounds like you were there also, there was plenty of incentive to grow businesses, plenty of incentive to invest, plenty of incentive to hire people.
Right, and right now you're saying that because the economy is precarious, we still need to invest in deficit spending to this degree because of it, because if we cut spending too much, we might harm the economic growth of the country. Is that correct?
That is true.
Okay, so we can't have it both ways, that we have to have it here, but the tax cuts don't belong there.
No, but I disagree. I disagree.
Clearly.
You're assuming that targeted investments in areas like infrastructure, research and development, and manufacturing, which we need in order to compete in this global economy and get people employed, equate to the same thing as asking the richest 2% to pay a little bit more.
Right,
those aren't the same thing. Those are apples and oranges.
Oh.
And we can do both, and what that achieves is it gets people back to work, and it gets us in a position where we have a balanced approach to deficit reduction, which is essential to bringing down our deficits.
Yeah. Let's talk about that balanced approach, because you've used the word probably 100 times today.
I've been here a long time.
Yeah, I'm sure you have. Right, if you look at the slide up there, top 5% of American taxpayers are contributing 58.70% of the income tax revenue coming into the Treasury. Yet under your balanced approach idea, should that number be 70%, 90%, 95%? Especially in light of the comments in your testimony where I quote on page number 1, by following these quintessentially American values of equal opportunity for all, and responsibility from all, we can build an economy that will grow robustly and create good jobs for years to come. So I'm curious, going back to your balanced approach, the top, I'll give you some wiggle room here. Let's use the top 10% of wage earners in the country. What is the balanced approach? How much more of the total burden should bear?
I guess again, my eyesight's failing me. What are we looking at here? Is this income?
That's the tax burden by income level.
These are income taxes?
Right. So the bottom 50% are paying 2.3% of revenue coming to the Treasury.
So does that include payroll tax?
No, this is just income tax. This is just income tax.
This is just income tax. So I think that's important that we're only looking at.
Well, but rich people pay other taxes.
But I think if you look back across the last couple of decades or more, when we were both in the private sector, there's been such disproportionate wealth creation focused on that very top.
There's been a lot of middle class people that were brought into that wealthy place as well.
Middle class has not done nearly as well, and what we need to do is we need to ask that top 2% to do their fair share. The budget has specific proposals.
So 36.7% is not fair for them. It should be 50%. I'm trying to get a number from you so I know what balance is.
So the president's proposal has two main pillars. One is to return to the Clinton-era tax rate of 39.6%, which worked quite well back then. We actually had surpluses. And then to ask that the wealthiest limit their deductions to 28%, so their deductions are the same as or don't so far exceed middle class. That strikes me as fair. At the same time, I want to emphasize that the President is in favor of fundamental tax reform, and the Buffett rule would be part of that fundamental tax reform. A simpler code, lower rates would all be part of tax reform.
Mr. Flores, last but not least.